the ANC Women's League is embarking on a march to the union buildings where they'll hand over a memorandum of demands to President Cyril Ramaphosa. The march is part of the 16 Days of Activism for No Violence Against Women and Children program, and the theme is United for Justice, ending GBV and Femicide in our lifetime. Earlier, SABC News reporter Patricia Visagie spoke to Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi ahead of the march.
One of the men that have joined the ANC Women's League March that's taking place here in Pretoria is none other than the Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi. Mr. Premier, what has compelled you? You're a man leader in one of the most important provinces, but also a province plagued by crime often faced by women. But what has compelled you to join this march today?
If you can leave this battle to women alone, then you are defeated on the onset. This battle needs all of us, whether you are young, old, men, women, or any gender that you appreciate. So our presence here is to add to the voices. I always tell people, there will be those that mock us to do this. But it was through awareness that today people get ARVs in our hospitals. It was in our awareness that we are starting to see the results to defeat HIV. It is through events like this that gender-based violence now is literally on the lips of every South African. It is through this awareness campaign that we know there are 16 days of activism. So our presence here is to support and stand with those that have raised their voices, because we need more voices for those voices to be heard. And my main worry, unfortunately, is that our voices are not reaching the perpetrators. So if we move here, who knows? Any perpetrator will ask why they are gathered there. And within that, they will be educated and will be. So I want to wish the Women's League, the Progressive Women of South Africa, and all formations that have come under this banner to raise awareness on this important issue of gender-based violence. I'm worried about Gauteng, I must be honest. I raised this with the Provincial Commissioner, that on everything that we've been fighting, which is crime-related in our province, the statistics are going down. It's only one area, which is gender-based violence, that the statistics are galloping. So it means we need to overhaul what we are doing. It means it's not yielding the necessary deal.
How are we doing that, Premier? Because this has been going on for years now. We've heard the talk, as you said, the voices that must be heard. But what's the action, the tangible action, so that we can collectively, ultimately, turn the tide and win this battle?
The mistake will be if you think government alone must have answers. I'm of the view that everyone that is here, the formations that are here, the organizations that are here, must be given a platform and a voice for them to say how best we manage this. And we've done it. As I said, many other crimes are going down. It's only gender-based violence that is very stubborn, it's galloping, and we need to really, and there are many areas that we need to be honest with. The first one, obviously, is the justice system. It needs to be strengthened and give us support. The second area that I've raised, and I continue to raise, we must open up the debate for the abuse of drugs, in particular alcohol. We must be frank. We must not address it with emotions. You are quite aware it creates jobs. You are quite aware it sustains other families. But the reality is, if you check majority of those statistics, where women are attacked or people are attacked, car accidents, children are abused, there is an element of drug. And we need to start to debate to say, do we have to enter that space to review whether the current policies, and I'm glad that there are a lot of NGOs that are starting to gather statistics there, so they will assist us. The third area, which is very, very key, is what we are doing here. Awareness, 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 awareness. In the absence of awareness, you would not be here. If we didn't organize this, yourself and your viewers will not be aware that we have a problem of gender-based. So we must appreciate this awareness, and that's the reason why we feel we must participate in this kind of activities.
The ANC Women's League also touched on the very disturbing reality of sexual violence that children are subjected to. We know what happened in Soweto. Currently in Brits, there is a similar matter playing out in court. An 11-year-old child that was allegedly raped by a Lesotho national. And the ANC Women's League saying that undocumented or unlawful migrants need to leave immediately. As a premier in Gauteng, these elements took place in your province. Do you agree with them?
We don't need knee-jerk reactions. We need things that are sustainable, that will ensure even me and you or the Women's League or whoever is not there, but the law will continue to happen. Because you don't want to rely on individuals to enforce law enforcement. And I'm happy that the previous Minister of Home Affairs changed all the regulations that were managing illegal immigrants. It went to public participation, it went through the necessary committees in Parliament. We have to urge the current Parliament to fast-track those discussions and those debates. We can't have people coming here on a study permit, work permit, family permit, just for them to get into the country. And when they are country, they abandon those particular permits. So there is a solid proposal on the table to streamline the permits that people utilize to come into our country. And I really believe the sooner we fast-track that process, it must not be that the former minister is no longer Minister of Home Affairs. All this thing must be abandoned. That would be wrong. When expectations were created, where people presented their views, where public hearings were listened to, we just have to strengthen the laws that determine who can come in our country, who cannot come in our country. That is very important. But a knee-jerk reaction sometimes, it may make us to be emotional and commit serious mistakes. What we need here, it's people that understand that South Africans are people of love, Ubuntu, but don't treat them as a criminal and expect them to be quiet. Because we can't allow an 11-year-old child to be raped. I mean, it does not need any other person. Ubuntu dictates that something is wrong, and the law enforcement agencies must move with speed to deal with things. But to me, we just have to accelerate the finalization of the documentation of people that wants to come to our country.
Just lastly, what's your message to South African men? Often some of these crimes are committed by them on women and children. If you had to appeal on your own gender, what would you say to them?
Don't open something you have not closed.
Those who may not understand what you mean?
They will understand.
Okay, that is male language, I guess. But of course, from here, the women from the ANC Women's League, you can see the Premier is also here. We've got a whole lot of other leaders from the various fraternities in the country who are joining this particular march. Some of them are former leaders that we have spotted that are part of the group here. Of course, a sizable crowd that is already gathering here as they gear up to head to the union buildings, where a memorandum will be delivered to the president. This, as the women that are here, the men that are here, basically the group that's here is hoping that their memorandum can bring some sort of change so that we can end the scourge of gender-based violence and femicide in South Africa. For now, it's back to studio.
Patricia, Visagie monitoring that march by the ANC Women's League out in Pretoria, of course. As she said, they are marching to the union buildings, hoping to hand over that memorandum to President Cyril Ramaphosa, rather, speaking there earlier to the Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi. It is, we will touch base with her a little bit later on just to see and gauge how well this particular march was supported.